Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and today I am joined by my friend Caleb. Want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Caleb over at YouTube. Caleb Says Stuff is probably the easiest way to find me, or at Caleb Says Stuff on Twitter. I kind of do the same thing and talk about movies.
Woo! And today we're going to start off what might become a semi-regular type thing in which we do box office talk, and it's going to be called That Movie Made How Much? So this is going to be kind of our wrap-up of 2017. Going to look back at the films that made a lot of money in 2017.
Yeah, and I kind of suck at box office figures because I don't know anything about it, so Larry will tell me everything, and I'll just be along for the ride.
Alright, so when it comes down to the domestic box office, we had Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is still going, and it's about to pass 600 million here domestically. Number 2, Beauty and the Beast remake with a little over 500 million. Wonder Woman came in at number 3 with 412. Guardians of the Galaxy at number 5 with 389. And then Spider-Man Homecoming came in 5th with 334.
Wow.
Did any of those shock you?
It shocked me that Thor wasn't on the list.
Oh.
That high. Like, I thought the much hype was around that there would be a lot more of that, but no, none of those shocked me, actually. They kind of all seem pretty predictable. Of course, Star Wars is Star Wars, and MCU's MCU, and Disney's Disney. So.
Yeah. Is it nice, even though you're not a huge fan of it, to have a DC property break the mold?
I don't care. I'm one of those people. So here's why I said I don't know how much I'm going to bring to this because I don't really care in other people's recommendations and all that or box office. I kind of like what I like, but it's nice to see DC. Making some money. Good for them. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I don't want to see them make that much. No, Wonder Woman was a good movie. It just was a little more comedic than I liked.
Looking at that, 4 out of the top 5 were from Disney.
Yeah.
They are really running the world.
Yeah.
And you people want to give them more.
Yeah.
All right. Then the bottom half of the top 10, I think, is where some of our surprises start to creep in. So at number 6 for domestic, we have It with 327 million. Then at number 7 is Thor Ragnarok with 313. At number 8, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle with 301. Just past that 300 million mark. 9, Despicable Me 3 with 264. And at number 10 was Justice League with 227. What do you think about that list?
That's the surprising part of the list. Justice League should have made no money. I'm one of those people, I'm an anti-Justice League person because I actually like DCEU to an extent.
Yeah.
So I don't like the studio meddling.
But it's also a shock because, the Justice League has historically the most famous comic book hero characters, and it couldn't even match any of the other DC films.
No, to me this is a classic example of studio meddling. They didn't know what the heck they were making. I feel like they did a half Joss Whedon film, half Zack Snyder film, and people who like Zack Snyder are not going to like this movie. People who like Joss Whedon are not going to like this movie. And so, I don't know. I just think this was a disaster in every way, shape, and form.
What about It, all the way at number 6?
It actually kind of blows me away. The fact that a horror film, there is some nostalgia, and I think we're in a place with a lot of nostalgia right now. But It, for me, was a misfire. I didn't personally like it. Yeah. But good on them, because to see a horror film, anytime a horror film does good, I'm actually for it, even if I don't like it. Yeah, even if I don't like it, it's still a horror film doing well. And being in it's competing with Disney movies and DC movies. That's impressive.
The fact that it made more than Thor Ragnarok is insane.
I didn't realize that until you just said that now. That blows my mind.
Number 6 over Thor at number 7.
That's insane to me.
And I think it was kind of a perfect storm. I think the trailers were really good, especially that first teaser trailer was really enticing and really good. It's just, like you said, nostalgia. It showed the Georgie scene with the river,
with the drain.
The drain. Thank you, the drain thing.
Those things.
And I don't know. I've never really seen a horror film build the event status that it did this year.
That was insane to me. And I agree. The trailers for that were amazing.
Yeah.
It really blew me away because I didn't expect it to reach that level. It looked good.
Yeah.
But you never see horror films at that big of a level.
Yeah. Selling out theaters. I think it made over 120 in its opening weekend. It's crazy.
It's insane. Yeah.
And then Jumanji, the gift that keeps on giving, all the way up to number 8 and still moving. Probably going to be number 1 again this weekend.
Yeah. Guys, stop seeing Jumanji. I don't know. For me, this is another movie that I just don't get. But I do think, and we discussed this earlier, that I think it is a perfect storm. I think Jumanji falls in this thing where people like it. They have nostalgia for it, but they're not so rabid fans for it to where when you change it, it just scratches that nostalgia itch enough without getting fanboy outrage. And I think it's just kind of that perfect storm. But I'm still surprised because everybody, I mean, saw the same trailers I did, I'm assuming. And that movie did not look good. And in my opinion, it didn't even deliver. But it has The Rock, and there's that weird obsession with The Rock.
Yeah, I was actually scared for The Rock after Baywatch bombed. And then I saw the trailers for Jumanji. I was like, oh, this is about to be a rough year for The Rock. Well, I guess I have egg on my face because people didn't listen to those trailers even because it had a huge opening weekend and it has amazing legs. I mean, it is hardly dropping at all.
It makes me rethink my Rampage prediction because that was another movie that I'm like, this movie is going to tank. After seeing Jumanji, I think Rampage is going to make some money.
Then we just had Despicable Me 3, which is not a shock at all. I mean, this Illumination can put out anything these days, and it's going to make a ton of money. People are obsessed with those little minions, so...
Yeah, I've never seen a Minion or a Despicable Me.
Oh, none of the three, huh?
None of them. Yeah.
Or I guess 4. But
I did work with a guy who looked like, what's his Gru? Not Gru. Yeah. He had that like long body thing going on. I got it too, so I can say that.
It's a little bit disappointing to see this Despicable Me constantly beating out Pixar recently, because Coco is such a superior film to Despicable Me 3, but, you know, what are you going to do, I guess?
I haven't even seen Coco, and I can already tell you it's a better movie than Despicable Me 3.
So then we move over to the worldwide box office. We have the same top 2. So Star Wars The Last Jedi, number 1, with $1.27 billion. Beauty and the Beast, number 2, with $1.26 billion. Then we have The Fate of the Furious, which wasn't even in the top 10 domestically. Made $1.23 billion. Despicable Me jumps up to number 4 with $1.03 billion. So we only had 4 movies. I guess let's just start there. 4 movies break the $1 billion club.
Fate of the Furious. Holy. Wow.
Fate of the Furious is the only one on here who made $1 billion overseas alone.
Holy crap.
It didn't even need America to get over $1 billion.
Wow.
China loves the Fast and the Furious recently. Yeah.
Apparently. You guys should watch Initial D. It's a Chinese movie, and it's better than Fast and the Furious.
I mean, because this one, it performed okay here in the U.S., but it didn't. It's on a downward trend right now. They really hit that peak with 5 and 6, and 7 did crazy business, and then 8 was just, but man. That blows. That literally, I didn't even know, because the last time I saw a Fate of the Fast and Furious movie was number 2, I think. I don't know. They put a bucket with a rat on a guy and heat it up with a blowtorch. Yes.
That franchise just made over $1 billion.
Star Wars, it's definitely down off of the Force Awakens numbers, but I do think the gloom and doom predictions are vastly overblown.
Star Wars is going to make a ton of money because it's Star Wars. And I do think you're going to see diminishing returns. I do think the more and more it used to be an event when Star Wars, and now when Star Wars comes out, it's like, oh, there's a new Star Wars. And you're like, yeah, I just saw one.
Well, that's the thing.
And that's going to happen.
The Force Awakens was the first Star Wars under Disney. They had acquired the brand. It was the first one. The trailers looked great. It's the first Star Wars we had gotten in over 10 years and a long time since Revenge of the Sith. It was a perfect storm for The Force Awakens to just go crazy. And then we had Rogue One, which at least The Last Jedi is performing better than. And I think Rogue One had better general reception overall.
I would definitely say that. Actually, I've heard a lot of people say it's as good as Empire. I still haven't seen Rogue One, but I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
And I've heard people saying Last Jedi is one of the worst. It's not, but it didn't seem like it hit as well, but it's still going to make money because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, and I have to say, so I'm not completely shocked with Beauty and the Beast, but if you had told me Beauty and the Beast would be the number 1 movie hold that place from March all the way until Star Wars came out, I would not have believed it with the Spider-Mans and Guardians and Justice Leagues and Thors coming out. I knew it would do big, but this even dwarfs Jungle Book, Cinderella, all of those.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be big, but the numbers Beauty and the Beast pulled was pretty impressive to me. I'm actually kind of blown away. Especially when you put it into context of, I guess internationally, but musicals are just in general to pull that much money, even if it's if it's a Disney property, it's pretty impressive.
Well, then you look, even its opening weekend in the U.S. was like 170 million, which is higher than like Batman v Superman or any Batman movie, I think, other than... No, any of them. I think that's higher than any Batman film might have ever debuted, which is insane for that kind of movie. And then Despicable Me 3, again, it's from a French studio, I believe. So it's a domestic property in and of itself. So it goes gangbusters overseas, even more so than here in the United States. Then we look at the rest of the top 10 worldwide. We have Spider-Man Homecoming with $880 million. So it didn't even crack the 900 after we hit the $1 billion. Wolf Warrior 2 from China made it at $870 million. We had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with $863, Thor Ragnarok with $851, Wonder Woman with $821, and Pirates of the Caribbean with $794. What do you think of that?
I want to see that Chinese movie. I didn't even
Wolf Warrior 2.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. That's an awesome name.
I love it. I love that.
Just give me a period piece with werewolves. I know that's not what it is, but that's what I want. And I love Chinese cinema.
Yeah, I love when a foreign film gets in there. That's not in English. That, I mean, probably if it did get released here, made like $1 million at most in the U.S. And they don't need us. They just are going on their own strength.
I'm very happy to see that, foreign film, because I do think American audiences tend to miss out on so many good movies, especially Chinese cinema. I think is phenomenal. Especially crime dramas and stuff. Not that that's what that is. I'm assuming that's a big period piece in Mandarin. That's what I'm assuming.
Did you see Your Name last year?
I didn't.
Oh, well, you should see that, I think.
I'm going to see it. I want to see it.
Your Name was like the big international release I remember last year. It made, I think it made the top 10 overall, just pretty much on the strength of Japan alone. And
is it the anime one?
The anime,
no, I haven't seen it, but it's on my list. Yeah. I know exactly which one.
Yeah, Your Name was definitely one to check out.
There's anime in the back, so I definitely will get on that.
And then when we look at these other ones, of course, we have the same characters we saw here in the U.S. with Thor, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Guardians, but Pirates continues to be an international draw, even though here in the U.S. it bombed in the U.S. But those international seas, they love them some Johnny Depp still, I guess.
Someone has to, I guess.
I mean, well, yeah. And it's also kind of weird that Disney has been so good, even with Beauty and the Beast. I know that China was hesitant because of the horrible marketing that Disney did with their LGBT storyline, first ever gay character on screen, and just how they botched that whole thing.
I'm going to hate to interrupt you. Wasn't that character always gay? I've seen the original cartoon.
I mean, I think that's the point we all made.
Okay. I thought, I remember the outrage in me going, I thought that character always was. I was like, unless I missed something.
Well, that was part of the problem. Disney just completely botched that by coming out and saying it and then trying to come back and go for it. Like, it was stupid. Okay. So China was already hesitant with the film, with their politics situation, but it made a ton of money there. I wonder, they make a bunch of money with Pirates. Why can't Disney crack the code of Star Wars in China? Because even this last one has not made, anything in China. They just are not taking to it at all. And they love big action, so it's just weird to me.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, because that's one of those things. I do feel like Star Wars is a perfect big action. It's a movie that you can really watch with a language barrier and reading it with subtitles and miss part of the story, and it still does get along, which I've noticed big action movies with lighter story elements that are easier to follow tend to do better international, since you've got that language barrier even with the subtitles. I am at a loss as why this... I just don't know if culturally... I don't know how China connects to Star Wars, the original, even at all, if they do.
I think that's part of the thing, is I think it wasn't nearly what it was here. Yeah. But then you look at, Fate of the Furious made more in China than it made in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm like, oh, all right. And then looking at the next two spots are... Actually, the next three spots on the list are three that were in the top 10 here. We have It at number 11 worldwide with $700 million off of a $35 million budget horror film. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Jumanji is up to $686 million worldwide, which actually, that, like you were saying with big, dumb action films, I can kind of understand Jumanji taking off overseas.
Also, too, it kind of has that, slapsticky humor in it, which Chinese audiences seem to love. If you ever watch Chinese cinema, there's a lot of, slapsticky humor in it, and I love that about it. So that kind of makes sense to me. I do see there is some crossover there that would make sense. It's still Jumanji.
Yeah, it's about to make over 700 million.
Yeah.
And then we had Justice League with 655. Behind the likes of Jumanji and It come in Justice League. Who would have thunk that at the beginning of this year? I definitely would have. Then we have Coco at 627 worldwide. So, hey.
That's good.
Or Logan. Here we have Logan at 15 with 616. So it's not quite Deadpool numbers, but it's still very good for a hard R rated comic book series.
And it is light on humor. It is everything I love in cinema. Yeah. So the fact that it made that much is good.
It's sad, down. It's a tough sell for those that are not invested. It's
a modern Western with a guy with claws. I mean, and it made that much money. Awesome.
And on a small budget. Didn't need much effects. This is what I love, though. Here's one story I love. All the way down at number 16 with only $605 million is Transformers: The Last Knight. That is less than half of the previous Transformers film that came out and is terrible. I mean, it cost about, it has at least a $200 million budget and only made $600 million worldwide. It's still marginally in the black, I think, but to drop that
we'll get
hard.
Another one still.
I mean, we're getting Bumblebee in November, so.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't think we've seen the end of Transformers.
I'm hoping this is a lean show that even Chinese audiences who have largely propped this series up as well are getting sick of it. Like they're not even saving it overseas. I just want to see where your favorite film on the year ended up.
Oh, this is painful for me. My favorite film of the year by a mile was Blade Runner 2049, and I don't even want to hear these numbers. I might cry on camera.
So domestically, Blade Runner 2049 comes in at number 35 with 91 million.
What was the budget on that too? I'm sure it was insane.
The budget is outrageous.
Yeah, because I mean, it just looked like it.
Yeah, and the budget for Blade Runner 2049 was $150 million.
Oh my god! I don't want to live on this planet anymore. So Jumanji made a ton of movies.
Over 3 times here in the U.S. what Blade Runner has made.
Blade Runner is like cinematic gold to me.
I mean, so when you look at the two films, so at number 34, right above Blade Runner, is John Wick Chapter 2 with 92 million, which I liked, but...
I didn't see it. Yeah.
And then right below Blade Runner at 36 with 86 million is the Emoji Movie. So, Blade Runner 2049 is sandwiched. I can't.
So, I'm going to say something. I'm actually shocked the Emoji movie didn't make more money. I didn't see it, but I'm shocked it didn't make more money.
I just am like, oh, thank goodness that the audiences majorly rejected it. So, worldwide, it's almost in the same exact position on the year-end list. It ends up at number 33, and it made $259 million worldwide. That's actually pretty devastating because that is heavily in the red. Didn't even double its production budget, which is so sad.
so bad because that movie, I think it's going to be like the original Blade Runner. The original Blade Runner was a failure. I think 20 years from now, we're all going to love it, and they're probably going to do a third one. Well, actually, they said they might do a third one, but...
I hope. It needs awards help, voters. Yes. Academy voters, it needs the help.
It's out on digital. Go buy it.
Yes, please.
You'd be making me very happy if you would have bought it because, like, it's a masterpiece in filmmaking. Denis Villeneuve just, like, created a masterpiece.
I'm so sad. Did you see the headline that here domestically, for the first time, I can't remember the numbers, but the first time in something like 58 years, the domestic box office year-end list has ended with 3 female-led films at the top of the box office list. Have any impressions on that with Star Wars, Beauty and the Beast, and Wonder Woman?
It's one of those things like, we kind of talked about this. I don't really care about any of this stuff. I don't really care about you know, either way. I don't care if you're black, you're white, you're male, you're female. I'm like, I think it's cool. I mean, like, it kind of blows my mind that it hasn't come before. That it's taken till 2017 to get to that level. It's cool on a level of, like, I want to have kids soon, and if I have a little daughter, the fact that I could have, you know, a Star Wars character for her to look at. I mean, there was Leia always, but, like, a lead. Let's be real. If my kid's going to look up to character, I'd rather look up to Leia than Rey.
But now she has, like, old Leia, too, to kind of
Yeah, she has old Leia. We don't like
General.
old Leia. I don't like old Leia.
No, you don't like General Leia?
She's
You know,
super.
like
No,
the Force?
yeah, that's. I was just gonna say she's a little bit too much of a superhero.
So, talking on that, I know you enjoyed it, but not necessarily as much as myself, certainly, or the zeitgeist. Why do you think Wonder Woman hit like it hit this year?
I think there's a couple of reasons for
Okay.
that. One, I do think it was in that perfect balance of it wasn't too comedy. It lightened up in tone from the previous DCEU. So you have people like me who love dark, boring movies with no dialogue at points. But it wasn't quite there. I think Patty Jenkins did realize like she was in a bigger cinematic universe, but I also think right now feminism's all the rage, women's rights is all the rage, and I do think that helped boast numbers pretty considerably. I knew a lot of women who really got behind it and propped those numbers up, and also too, it's the first time we've gotten a solo Wonder Woman film, you know,
That's any good at all.
yeah, like
Since Elektra and Catwoman.
yeah.
That's the standard. And Supergirl. That's the standard.
But we're getting that Red Sparrow movie, which looks like a damn good Black Widow movie.
It does. And I think Wonder Woman, maybe with Red Sparrow, helped push and force the hand of Feige to make that Black Widow movie finally.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I watched that trailer and I was like, Red Sparrow is Black Widow.
Yeah. And then we're getting Captain Marvel coming up. We'll see how that
We'll see
turns
how that
out.
goes. It'll do good.
I mean,
At
least numbers. It'll do good by these box office
yeah,
numbers.
I probably won't like it. People
It'll be
probably love
interesting
it.
to see, though.
I hope I like it.
Because when you look at Wonder Woman's numbers, I don't know that Captain Marvel is going to be able to match them.
Oh, nowhere near.
Because if you look at even Captain America, Thor, the first Guardians movie, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, none of those solo initial like origin stories of Marvel have been as big as Wonder Woman. I don't even think Man of Steel didn't do as big as Wonder Woman. So most origin stories can't reach that level of box office. So I think that'll be tough on Marvel.
I think part of the reason, too, Wonder Woman was such big is even though it was an origin story, even the people who were really critical of Batman vs. Superman really liked
her.
Wonder Woman. Yeah. And so I think they were really excited to see. Plus, like, Captain Marvel is nowhere near the character that Wonder Woman is. Miss Marvel, I mean, yeah. And even characters like Iron Man at the time he came out. Now he's big, but at the time he came out, even Captain America is a big character. I would not, for me personally, say Captain America he's up there, but like Wonder Woman's a huge
Well,
character.
that's part of what made Marvel's whole ascent so crazy is they sold off all their actual popular characters to other studios, so they were left with these kind of people kind of know who these are. Maybe
And
let's
honestly,
see.
I think that was one of their greatest strengths because. Despite what fanboys say, the MCU is very, very different from comics, and with a lot of the characters, and because I think they were given a little more freedom without getting the lens on them. Iron Man's probably the most true to his character, I'd say, in the comics. But like a lot of the other characters, they did change some things, but because they weren't Spider-Man, they weren't Batman, Wonder Woman. I think that kind of helped Marvel in the long run.
Yeah. All right, so that's kind of just our general impressions, our general look at the top of the box office, at least. And his favorite film, if you saw my top 10 movies of the year, my favorite film was Call Me By Your Name. But when you're doing a box office discussion, that's not really... that's never really expected to be in this type of discussion. I just hope it breaks into the top 100 soon, which I think it will once Oscar... It'll probably at least triple what it has right now once Oscars start looming, because that's when people see the nominations and start running out and looking at those little tiny films. But those are our overall impressions and thoughts on the year of 2017 at the box office. Were there any surprises for you all when you looked at those top of the year lists? Did anything bomb that you wanted to talk about? Let us know in the comment section, or you can hit either one of us up on Twitter. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, at CalebSaysStuff. I'm pretty much on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all under the same thing. Don't hit me up on Facebook. I never check it, but Twitter's probably the best.
And also, do make sure you go subscribe to his channel, because it's pretty awesome. And while you're here, make sure you go ahead and click the subscribe button down below and like this video if you enjoyed us talking box office. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.